So about a year and a half ago, the New York Times broke the story of California Forever. It was this planned metropolis in Solano County, California, that was being financed by some of tech's elite, and they'd been covertly buying land since 2017. And the idea is to change this desert city into this vibrant metropolis without any of the pesky rules of California's existing cities. And the promise to investors that the returns on this could be nearly limitless. And this rang some bells for me because I spent some time in, about 15 years ago, the world's first planned zero-carbon city, which was supposed to be for 100,000 people in the suburbs of Abu Dhabi, completely done with solar energy and very futuristic technology, these suburban transport pods that would whisk people around the city. They had a propensity to catch fire, which is why my colleague looks very terrified here. And so even by 2010, this has been scaled way back. Today, 5 years from the planned completion, there are about 5,000 people living there, or at least working there. So the question I have is, like, does it really make sense to build new cities? Why are we so obsessed with this idea, especially building them in inhospitable climates? Let's look at the data. So the UN predicts that we will have 3 billion additional people living in cities in the next 25 years. And the vast majority of these will be living in, already today, 1 in 4 people live in flood-prone zones. So we know we're gonna have a lot of people moving around, a lot of people looking for urban destinations to live. So again, why not just expand existing cities? The first thing is that it's really hard to rebuild infrastructure and adapt to growing cities unless you have an autocratic government and or a lot of money to just bulldoze through existing neighborhoods. Paris was retrofitted in the 1860s, and there's still, we have a long history of building cities from scratch, actually. So the capital of ancient Macedonia was a planned city. Alexander the Great was born there, and it was all laid out with dedicated sanitation networks, and it became a hub until it was sacked by someone. Washington, D.C. was also a planned city, so were Baghdad, Lima, Oslo, all places that were chosen to sort of knit together geographically diverse countries. And I always forget what I have coming next. Oh, right, this doesn't always work. So Naypyidaw in Myanmar, this is a 20-lane highway with 1 little motorcyclist on it. It's often held up as an example of when an elite has just like no connection to the actual needs or wants of its population. And I also, but you know, countries will also sometimes build cities from scratch for economic reasons. Shenzhen was in 1980, the Chinese government decided to take this fishing village of 30,000 and allow them to experiment with capitalism while the rest of China remained socialist. Worked out really well for Shenzhen, not for all of Chinese megacities. These have been very profitable for the governments who've been selling them, but have also, a lot of them have ended up as ghost cities and bankrupting retail investors. But this is, people keep on doing this. So Saudi Arabia just, I don't know if anyone saw this, The Line, which is a $1.5 trillion project. It's completely bonkers. And so some people are looking at this and saying, like, why do we invest in all this infrastructure first? This generally doesn't work. So what if we invest community first? What if we take sort of people, I don't know if anyone followed, so Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, convened this 2-month pop-up city in Montenegro where, you know, took over an existing infrastructure, a resort town out of season, and experimented with coming together. The idea is to bring people who have creative ideas about how to build the future and have them co-locate for something that's longer than a conference, enough time to incubate some ideas. Esmeralda was 1,000 people over the month of June last year. It's repeating this year. Some people rented houses, some people built these solar-powered A-frame homes. There were more than 300 events and people exchanging interesting ideas. A lot of people here will also be very familiar with the pop-up city of Burning Man. I think circles are a much better city design than lines, personally. And Burning Man has been around for 30 plus years. It's brought together people and you know, it's very easy to criticize Burning Man, but it's popularized concepts like leave no trace, and they're experimenting with a lot of things because of the harsh climate, trying to build this longer-term city or example of how to use these technologies year-round at Fly Ranch. So since my experience in Masdar City, I've been fascinated with new city projects. I've been keeping a database of everything from mega projects like The Line to ephemeral cities like Zuzalu, and if that's interesting to you too, you can come and talk to me.